Pretty cool, huh? A little favorable street sign. Somebody gave this to me at the meetup game that happened last week at the Bellagio. That's what this video is about. They also gave me pocket aces like 17 times, so I think you guys will dig checking that out. The video after this one is probably going to be about the $10,000 buy-in poker tournament that I participated in shortly after this meetup game. This is all part of the WPT 5 Diamond event that happened at the Bellagio. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Make sure you watch through to the end because there's once again this action crescendo that happens. All the way to the end of the video is when it really gets going. So enjoy, and I'll be back and see you guys right after all this action. It's 10 a.m. on a Tuesday morning at the Bellagio Poker Room. Not exactly super prime hours here. And as you can see, there are a handful of empty tables, but a crowd is gathering and those tables aren't gonna stay empty for long. We've got a 2-5 meetup game. We've raised the max buy-in to $1,000 from the usual $500. I've got myself an iced caramel latte and the $1,000 max buy-in. Let's get this meetup game started. Right away at table number 1, I find a premium hand in early position looking down at 2 queens. I make it $20 to go. 3 players make the call. 4 ways to jack 7-6 rainbow. I put out a $40 C bet. Player in middle position, he makes it $120. 2 players in between get out of the way and it's back on us. Not sure I completely love it, but A, it's a meetup game, and B, we have an overpair. So that adds up to a call. Turns a 3 of spades, second spade. I check, and this time he bets $210. That's actually over half of his stack. He's only got about $400 total. We're losing to 4-5 now, but aside from that, that 3 shouldn't change too much. We're either going to be up against an overvalued hand like Ace Jack or King Jack. We're going to be in trouble versus a hand like a set. If he has a hand like 7-6, it's not great, but at least we have some outs. I don't like the fact that he raised with 2 players yet to act behind him on the flop, but you guys know the drill. This is a meetup game, and I didn't come all the way from upstairs, from my hotel room upstairs to fold an overpair. I'm going to stick it in there because there's no point in flat calling when he's got over half of the stack here in on the turn. Raise it all in for the $400, and he snap calls. We roll it over. He's got pocket 6s. It's the worst case scenario. We've got 2 outs heading into the river, and we cannot find one. Immediately into the hole in the meetup game. All right, moving on. Looks like we're going to have some work to do. Looks like we're going to have our work cut out for us in this meetup game. Straddle is on in this hand, and I look down at Ace-8 of spades in the hijack. I'm going to raise it up here to $35. The button and the straddler make the calls. 3 ways to a flop. It comes down Ace, Queen, 7, rainbow. Straddler checks. I'm going to put a C bet here being 3 ways. I bet about a third of the pot, $35 once again. And both players make the call. So not exactly loving my top pair weak kicker here. Turns the 5 of diamonds, second diamond. Straddler checks. This time I'm going to check it back, try and pot control a little bit here, and the button puts out a bet of $115. The straddler doesn't fold, doesn't flat call. He puts in a raise up to $290. So I don't think we have any choice here. Top pair, 8 kicker, not going to get the job done multi-way. I let it go. I watch the action, and the player on the button makes the call here. Turn is an offsuit 5, and the straddler jams all in. Player on the button thinks for a while, goes deep into the tank, and eventually makes the call. That player on the button has Ace Jack, which is good, versus the straddler's Jack 10 of diamonds. Turns pretty good equity there with a flush draw to go along with the flopped gut shot straight draw. But there is action to be found. The boys came to play today at the meetup game. All right, moving along here, the straddle is on again, and there's an early position raised to $35. There's a couple callers, and we are in the small blind. Looking down at ace-queen offsuit. I don't want to flat here. I don't want to play out of position. I don't want to play multi-way with this offsuit hand. I want to use those properties that smart people talk about when they talk about poker, such as removal to strong hands. I'm going to put in a 3-bet here. We're going to squeeze these callers. I'm going to make it $200 to go out of the small blind. Hoping for a fold here. Don't really want to play this one. Hoping it gets through. And the initial raiser makes the fold, which is a great sign. And the other 2 or 3, however many callers there were in between, they all make the fold. We're taking it down here. 3-bet squeeze successful. Moving right along here, no straddle on in this hand. The under the gun player limps in for $5. Benjamin Adler, he's on my direct right. He's a legendary YouTube chatter. He's also a good buddy of mine. He makes it $30 to go. I'm on his direct left looking down at the best hand ever created, pocket aces next to act. I decided to get a little bit tricky here. I just put in the flat call looking to trap somebody behind me. Unfortunately, the player on my left only flat calls as well, and the under the gun limper folds. So we have an unsuccessful trap here. But still disguised. Good things could still happen. Flop comes down king, king, 4 with 2 diamonds. Ben checks. I'm going to check it here. And the player on my left bets $35. Ben makes the call, and of course, I'm calling as well. The turn is another king, 3rd king on the board. Ben checks again, I check again, and the player on my left bets $35. We're beating everything now aside from random king X hands, king, queen, king, jack, king 10, king 9 suited, stuff like that. Ben calls again. I'm going to make the call again, of course. River's an offsuit 6. Ben checks. I'm going to check it. And it's going to depend on what my opponent does on my left. If he bets big, I'm just going to flat call. If he bets small, I'm going to be raising. He does neither of those. He checks it back, which means we are going to have the winner here almost always, aside from when Ben is trapping with quads on my right, which he's not. We have the winner. But what's interesting is that Benjamin Adler on my right says that he had pocket 4s. He actually flopped a full house. We get there on the turn. We're dragging it in with our unconventionally played but winning pocket aces. In this next hand, there's an early position raised to $20. There's 2 callers, and we are in the small blind looking down at ace 8 of hearts. Unlike that hand where I had ace queen offsuit and put in the squeeze, this hand doesn't have quite the same properties. For one, the 8 doesn't have removal to strong hands such as pocket queens. And 2, it's a suited ace, so it plays much better multi-way. The times that we flush over flush someone are super valuable. Can't do that sort of thing with an offsuit ace queen. So we're going to flat call here, and we go 4 ways to a flop. Jack 8-4 rainbow. It checks all the way around. Turns an offsuit 4. I'm going to lead out here. I bet $35. The initial raiser calls, and the other 2 players fold. River's an offsuit queen. I'm going to check it now, try and get to showdown here, looking to pick off some wagers. I would expect my opponent to have bet the 9-10, so I don't think that queen should improve him too often. He does, in fact, check it back. We roll it over, and it turns out we've got the winner versus the initial raisers, king 8. This is actually the same player who had the set of 6s when I had the pocket queens. So it makes me feel a little bit better about my stack off. It's not like he's just knitting it up here. He is getting into the mix here with the king 8 suited pre-flop. I didn't know that at the time, of course. Maybe I still could have found a fold, but you know the drill. Anyway, moving on. It's at this time that I get noticed that my good buddy and fellow coach at the Hand History Lounge, Benton Blakeman, sitting one table over, has made quad aces, which is significant for a couple of reasons. A, because I want to see my buddy Benton do good, and B, because there is a very special bonus going on at this meetup game. We're awarding the highest hand of the day with a $10,000 seat to a WPT tournament. And so far, quad aces is very much the best hand. So we're rooting for Benton here to hold with these pocket aces throughout the rest of the meetup game. All right, back to the poker action here. There's an under the gun limp. I look down at the 6-9 of diamonds. We didn't come all the way from, we're raising. So I make it $25 to go with the 6-9 suited. There's 3 callers. Flop comes down as gorgeous as you could hope for when you raise with a 6-9. 8-7-3 with 2 diamonds. There's 2 checks. I bet $55. Apparently, I must be giving off tells about my excitement about what's going on here because everybody folds. That's okay, though. We take it down here with 9 high. Drag it in. Now, as if winning pots with 9 high isn't fun enough, I get word that a very special guest has made his way to the meetup game here at the Bellagio, and look who it is.
Is this the first hand, Steve? You're gonna
Yeah,
go
it's first hand. Let's go. I did do that. What's up, man? How you doing?
man?
Steve Aoki has taken a break from playing his 250 shows a year all around the world to come hang out with us, play some 2-5 no limit. I got to play with him once before in a game much bigger than this, and he's a very cool guy. It doesn't matter what the stakes are. Super cool to have him here, and that he's spending a little bit of time amongst the people, splashing around, having some fun at the 2-5 game. And on a personal note, you guys remember back in the day when casinos weren't exactly sure about this whole poker vlogging thing? We've come a long way, haven't we? All right, guys, snap out of it. Snap out of that sentimental stuff back into it here because there's an early position raised to $25 and we are looking down at the pocket aces. We're going to 3-bet this time. I make it $80 to go, and only that initial raiser in early position makes the call. Heads up to a flop that comes king 8-3 rainbow. It's one of those super dry kind of boards. Should favor me a lot more than him. He checks it. I'm going to bet this very frequently, and therefore I'm going to bet small this time. I bet $55, and my opponent calls. Turn is the 9 of spades, second spade. Checks it over to me again. Definitely going to bet bigger here now with the board getting a little bit more wet. I bet $200, and my opponent calls again. River's the jack of spades, completing a potential backdoor flush. Checks it over to me though, and we do have the ace of spades in our hand, so I think we can worry about that flush a little bit less. The question is, can we still get value from worse hands here? Can we get value from king queen? We lose to king jack now. Ace king is a possibility, but we double block that hand. Having trouble finding too many other holdings that we can get value from on this run out. I say that I probably have the best hand here, but I'm just going to check it down, take it to showdown. And it turns out we do not have the best hand here. My opponent has the 9-8 of diamonds for a turn 2 pair, in which we could have potentially lost a little bit more money, but can't really fault my opponent's line here. He should definitely call him to mix pair on the flop. He's going nowhere once he makes 2 pair. Maybe he thinks he's going to overrep his hand if he puts in a raise. Either way, pocket aces get cracked, and we are further into the red in this meetup game. My man Jamin Burton is in the house as well, the most creative of all the poker vloggers. He gives me some good advice. He says, try winning with pocket aces. Subscribe to his channel for more tips. All right, let's try and put his advice to work. We're once again looking down at pocket aces. No straddle on, I make it $20 to go, and everyone folds. Hey, look at that. Much better than losing. Let's drag in these winnings. At a new table now, and the straddle is back on, and there's an early position raised to $40. Player on the button makes the call. We look down at the king 5 of hearts in the straddle. We're going to defend it. I make the call, and we are going 3 ways to a flop that comes down 2 hearts. Flop ourselves the king high flush draw. I check. The initial raiser checks, and the button puts out a bet of $100. Not going to go anywhere with king high flush. Could raise. I'm just going to flat here. The $100 bet. Kind of a sizable one, kind of a serious one. So I'm going to flat call here. Initial raiser out of the way, so heads up to a turn card, which is another 3. Not a great card, doesn't improve us, and could be drawing dead versus a full house now. I check, and the player on the button checks back. River completes our flush, 6 of hearts, and I'm going to lead out here. I'm going to make a wager, but I really don't want to get raised. If we do get raised, that story will be very congruent with a full house, 9's full, 8's full. Really don't want to see that happen. And the good news is that my opponent doesn't raise. We don't get any value though. My opponent on the button makes the fold. Maybe the tide is turning though. Maybe the tide is turning in this meetup game. That's a couple hands in a row for us. Moving right along here, no straddle on in this hand, but once again, looking down at pocket aces, we're gonna raise it up to $20. Only player 2 to my left makes the call. So heads up to a flop that comes down, mostly favorable for us. Ace, Jack, 10, rainbow, top set. Definitely betting here. I bet $15 being out of position, and my opponent makes the call. Turn is one of only a couple cards that we really didn't want to see. We don't want to see a king or a queen, and this time it is the queen of hearts. Now with 4 to a straight on the board, I'm going to check it, and my opponent checks it back. River though, River's much more favorable for us. It's another ace. Once again, quad ace is making an appearance, and funny enough, this is the exact same table where it happened before, where my buddy Benton was playing. Not too sure what the best plan of attack is here to try and get value. Seems unlikely that my opponent has a straight. Seems unlikely that he flopped a set here since he only just flat called pre-flop. Probably going to be tough to get action here, but all we can do is try. I bet $45. My opponent thinks for a little bit, and eventually open folds the queen 10. Not sure we can induce from him with a check on the river versus that hand. Tough to get value with the quad aces sometimes. Finding some run good in the late stages of this meetup game though, and we have made our way to the last table of the day, and I've got the straddle on in this hand, and I fired up the camera a little bit late to capture all the action, but the button brings it in for a raise to $35. Action folds over to me in the straddle, looking down at ace king offsuit. That's a premium versus a button raise, so I'm going to put in the 3-bet. I make it $140 to go. The player on the button, he's got himself a little bit over $500, which is 100 big blinds in a $5 big blind game. But with the straddle on, that's only 50 big blinds effective. He decides he wants to put all 50 effective big blinds to work. He goes ahead and jams all in. As mentioned, we've got ourselves a premium in a straddled pot, button versus straddle. We're going nowhere. We are tossing in the call, and we're going to be off to the races versus my opponent's pocket 8s. It's a flipping situation, but the flop is a favorable one for us. We make trips right away, and my opponent's pocket 8s cannot improve. We're dragging in a $1,000 pot here on the second to last hand of the day. And now, for the final hand of the day, it's not exactly a very high-level strategic poker hand, but it is an action one because the player 2 to my right, he has asked me if I want to go all in blind for his $500 stack. I debate for a little while, but you know what? I didn't come all the way. We're going to do this. We're going to go ahead. We're going to have a gamble right here for $500 each, all in blinds. All the other players are going to get out of the way. He's talked me into it. Let's gamble. $500 a man. All right, so the way we're gonna do this is that we're gonna run the full board out, and then each of us is going to roll one card over at a time for maximum drama. Board runs out, my man on the button, he's gonna roll it over first. That's not a good card, that's good news for us. We roll over our first card, we somehow roll over a card that is worse than before. Let's see what my man has as his second card. All right, 10 high, definitely the best hand so far. We've got a few outs here. We need to beat 10 high on this board. We can make quads with a 9, a boat with a king, or a 6, or a 3, or we need a high card higher than the 10 for the scoop.
Table for you.
It's worked out. It's
Yeah.
worked out all right. Good couple of hands.
Yeah.
We got into this meetup game for the original $1,000 plus an additional $1,000 that I added on when things weren't going so well in the early to mid stages. So that's a total of $2,000, and we cash out a total of $2,057. You know what, guys? That means $57 in profit, putting us firmly on favorable. Okay, so yeah, so really good time over there at the Bellagio during the meetup game. Room was packed. We had an awesome turnout and some very cool special guests come out and join us. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Would love it if you click the subscribe button, because not only does it help me, it helps you guys find these videos, because the YouTube algorithm tends to just squash things when you don't interact on the channel. So best way to see the videos, make sure you see them when they come out, is to click that subscribe button. I am off to Texas this Wednesday. So next video, probably a $10,000 buy-in tournament. The one after that, a live stream video from the lodge, assuming there's something interesting that happens from there. Usually that is the case when you're playing poker in Texas. All right, see you guys again very soon. Take care, cheers.